I look at the cream-colored envelope in my hands. My heart stumbles against my ribs. My mother's perfect calligraphy cuts across the front, the kind that belongs on wedding invitations and thank you notes, not communications with the daughter she helped exile. My pristine Barcelona apartment suddenly feels airless. Outside, spring rain lashes against the windows, a persistent reminder of the Mediterranean climate I've made my refuge. For 11 years, I've calibrated my life to the millimeter, my work, my space, my heart, all carefully arranged to keep chaos at bay. And then this arrives. I slide my finger under the sealed flap, and the paper slices a thin, bloodless cut, a fitting first wound. Inside, the invitation gleams with gold embossing and promises. Dr. Marta Serrano and Don Daniel Rojas request the honor of your presence at their union. The Palace Hotel, of course. Where else would my half-sister stage her triumph but in Madrid's monument to old money and discretion? My hands tremble as I read Daniel Rojas's name again. It's not an uncommon name, but rare enough that I'd prayed for a coincidence. A small photo confirms it, the same sharp jawline, the same rehearsed smile that watched me fumble through my research presentation 3 years ago. The same man who looked me in the eye and said, "Perhaps something less ambitious would suit someone of your background." He didn't know I was a Serrano then. Now he's marrying one. The irony would be delicious if it weren't choking me. I sink onto the sofa, the invitation still clutched between my fingers. Memories ambush me without permission. 11 years ago in my father's house. I swear I didn't take it, I said, my voice raw from repeating the same defense for hours. I only went into your bathroom to unplug Marta's curling iron. She left it on. Celia's perfectly lined eyes narrowed, her composure glacial except for the slight tremor in her manicured hand. The ring was here this morning. You were the only one in our room today. I didn't take it, I repeated. An 8,000 euro sapphire doesn't just vanish. Vega, my name, spat from her tongue like something bitter. Marta stood slightly behind her mother, tears tracing dramatic paths down her 17-year-old face. The performance was flawless, the wounded sister, the outraged daughter. Maybe she needed the money for something, she whispered, loud enough for all to hear. For university or something else. The insinuation hung like poison in the air, but it was my father's silence that truly shattered me. Carlos Serrano, esteemed lawyer, champion of evidence and due process, stood in the doorway of his bedroom and watched as his wife condemned his eldest daughter without a shred of proof. "Papa," I said, turning to him, "you know I wouldn't do this." His eyes met mine, then slid away. "Celia keeps meticulous inventory of her jewelry. I don't believe you. No other explanation, just a tacit acceptance of my guilt." "I want you out of this house," Celia said, "until you can admit what you've done and make restitution." I looked at my father again. His jaw tightened, but no defense came. "Fine," I whispered. Dignity was all I had left to salvage. "I'll get my things." By the next morning, I was gone, financially disinherited, emotionally exiled, 23 years old, with half a master's degree and nowhere to go. I finished my degree through sheer stubbornness, waitressing and taking out loans that would haunt me for years. Then came the anonymous blog post that circulated through my department, casting doubts on my integrity, the sudden rejection of my grant application despite glowing preliminary reviews. No concrete proof it was Marta, just the ghost of her handiwork, always invisible, always devastating. Back in my apartment, I traced the embossed letters of the invitation. 11 years of estrangement, and now this, a baited hook disguised as an olive branch. My phone buzzes. "Hector, hi," I answer, my voice steadier than I feel. "Just finished the meeting. How's your day?" His voice carries the calm assurance I've come to rely on. "Interesting mail today. Trouble or good news?" he asks, our usual code. "Neither. An invitation to Marta's wedding." The silence tells me he grasps the magnitude. "You okay?" I walk to my study, where a locked filing cabinet holds 11 years of meticulous documentation, emails, financial records, screenshots, evidence of a pattern I've tracked with the precision of the data analyst I've become. "They think it's bait," I say, my voice growing stronger. "It's actually my opportunity." I pick up a pen and fill out the RSVP card with a steady hand. Vega, Serrano, and guest will attend. Other memories surface. My student flat was so small I could almost touch both walls with outstretched arms, but that night it felt expansive, brimming with possibility. "So this algorithm analyzes food deserts based on income data," I said. Marta leaned forward on my futon, her manicured fingers tracing lines on my laptop screen. At 22, my half-sister made even a ratty university sweatshirt look elegant. Not just that. I refilled our plastic cups with the cheap red wine I'd splurged on for her visit. It predicts nutritional outcomes based on transport routes, store inventory patterns, and seasonal availability. No one's combined these factors before. The data pulsed with purpose on my screen, thousands of hours distilled into elegant rows and columns. My advisor had already called it revolutionary, a public health revolution waiting to happen. "How does this help poor people?" Marta's question sounded genuine, free of her usual venom. I sat beside her, our shoulders touching in a rare moment of sisterhood. A 7-year-old in El Raval shouldn't develop diabetes because their neighborhood only has convenience stores. My model helps urban planners pinpoint where to incentivize supermarkets, farmers markets, or transport options. It's brilliant, she whispered. For a moment, I believed we'd found common ground, her medical studies and my public health work, different paths to the same goal. I showed her everything that night. The proprietary algorithm, 3 years of community surveys, statistical innovations my advisor said could reshape how we approach urban nutrition. When she left the next morning, she hugged me tightly. I'm proud of you, Vega. 4 days later, I couldn't find my backup files. The critical sections are just gone, I told my academic committee, their faces hardening with every stammered explanation. My presentation faltered. Slides showed placeholder data instead of my groundbreaking analysis. Perhaps your ambition outpaced your organization, Dr. Escribano said, peering over his glasses. I had everything, I insisted. Someone accessed my cloud drive. Can you prove it, Miss Serrano? Dr. Jimenez's voice cut like a scalpel. I expected more from someone with your potential. I left the room with my academic reputation in tatters, my grant application withdrawn, my graduation indefinitely delayed. Depression came for me like a high tide, insidious and complete. I stopped attending classes, answering calls, believing in systems designed to reward merit and punish dishonesty, until the alumni newsletter arrived 3 months later. Serrano Scholar revolutionizes community nutrition model. The headline blazed above a photo of Marta accepting an oversized check. My blood ran cold as I read phrases I'd written, methodologies I'd developed over countless sleepless nights, even my color scheme for data visualization. I printed the article with shaking hands, then found her master's thesis in the university database. I downloaded every page, underlining each passage lifted from my work. This can't be happening, I whispered to my empty apartment, but it was. The sister who'd destroyed my place in our family had now stolen my professional future, so perfectly that any accusation would sound like the bitter ravings of the family failure. I created a new folder on my computer that day. I named it Evidence and began the patient work of documenting every stolen idea, every plagiarized passage, every falsified result. Someday, I promised myself, when I have irrefutable proof. 2 years later, I met Hector at a data security conference. He listened to my story without the skepticism I'd grown accustomed to, his forensic financial analyst's mind tracing the patterns of theft I described. People who steal once don't usually stop, he said, helping me set up a more secure cloud storage for my reconstructed research. I rebuilt my career meticulously, working twice as hard to regain half the credibility I'd lost. While local medical journals praised Marta's innovative approach to community health disparities, I gathered evidence in silence. Years passed, I tracked Marta's meteoric rise through her mere residency at a prestigious Madrid hospital to a coveted attending position, each achievement shadowed by the knowledge of where her foundation came from. Then came an email from an unrecognized address. Miss Serrano, you don't know me. My name is Teresa Garcia, a nurse at San Rafael Children's Clinic. I worked with your sister last year. I have information you should see about a patient incident that was covered up. A 7-year-old boy, a miscalculated dose, a 3-week coma. I'm risking my job by sending this, but someone needs to know the truth before it happens again. The attached report detailed her negligence and the case file manipulated through her stepmother's connections. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding against my ribs. This was no longer about stolen research. This wasn't about me. It was about a child who nearly died and the next patient who might not be so lucky. In the present 2 days later, the spreadsheets covering our dining table tell a story more damning than any accusation I could make. Numbers don't have motives. Data doesn't hold grudges. Look at this, Hector says, his finger tracing a row of figures that shouldn't exist. 45,000 euros in medical consulting fees paid to your name in 2021. I lean in, the knot in my stomach hardening into something dangerous. I've never done consulting for anyone, let alone received that kind of money. They used your ID number, your old Madrid address. Hector's voice stays steady, but his jaw tightens. They've been doing this for years. Our apartment has transformed into a command center, laptop screens glowing with tax filings and bank statements, sticky notes forming a constellation of fraud across our walls. 3 days ago, I was just a woman with an unwanted wedding invitation. Now I'm mapping a criminal web bearing my name. How did you find this? I ask, scrolling through records I never created. Hector's smile is faint but fierce. Forensic financial analysis is my thing, remember. Once I knew to look for shell companies tied to the Serrano family foundation, the pattern practically revealed itself. He pulls up another document, a financial disclosure form with my signature, except it's not my signature. It's close, but the loop of the V in Vega tilts wrong. They forged my signature, I say, the words flat, drained of the rage building beneath. Multiple times. Hector opens a folder labeled with precise dates. This goes back 8 years. They didn't just steal your identity once. It's been ongoing. Sink into a chair, trying to process the scale. They've been using me as their tax mule while pretending I didn't exist. Hector nods, sliding another document toward me. The foundation itself is mostly a tax haven. See these donations to medical research organizations. They're actually payments to offshore accounts. The charity work is a front. How much? From what I've traced so far, nearly 3 million euros laundered through various accounts. The tax authorities would be very interested. I stare at the evidence of my family's betrayal, methodically organized and irrefutable. My anger shifts into something colder, more calculated. Show me everything. I need to understand it all. For hours, Hector walks me through their scheme. The false deductions, the hidden accounts, the paper trail leading to my father's meticulous hand, the respected lawyer, the philanthropic doctor, the high society wife, all built on fraud with me as collateral damage. We have to be strategic about how we present this, I say finally, organizing the evidence into clear chronological exhibits. And we need backups of everything. The cobalt blue dress hangs on my closet door like armor awaiting battle. I slip it on, the silk cool against my skin. In the mirror, I see someone stronger than the girl who fled Madrid 11 years ago. You look ready, Hector says from the doorway. I am. I smooth the fabric, nodding how it glides rather than clings. Nothing about me will seem desperate or approval-seeking. Finished uploading to the tablets, he nods. Everything, backed up on 3 separate cloud accounts. Even if they somehow get the physical devices, the evidence remains. We spend the afternoon rehearsing what to say, when to reveal each piece of information. Timing matters, the setting matters, the audience matters. What if they don't care? The question slips out during a pause, betraying the doubt I've kept buried. What if they just shrug it all off like they shrugged me off? Hector takes my hands, his expression steady. That's why we bring evidence, not accusations. The truth doesn't expire, Vega, and this truth has teeth. I squeeze his fingers, grateful for this man who understands the power of proof over persuasion. The AVE train ride from Barcelona to Madrid the next morning follows the curve of memory as much as the tracks. The Castilian plain stretches monotonously, a canvas for my thoughts. I rehearse keeping my voice level, my face composed when confronting the people who discarded me. Remember, you're not asking for anything, Hector reminds me as the fields give way to suburbs. You're not seeking approval or forgiveness. You're delivering information. Information they can't ignore, I add, watching Madrid's skyline emerge under a leaden sky. Our hotel is 3 streets from the palace, close enough for convenience, far enough to avoid accidental encounters before we're ready. The room is modest but clean, nothing like the luxury suite I'm sure Marta booked for herself. We spread our evidence across the bed one last time, reviewing each document, each bank statement, each forged signature, the contingency plans, the backups, the carefully scripted roadmap for tomorrow's confrontation. My phone buzzes. A voicemail icon appears next to my mother's name, a woman who hasn't called me in over a decade. I press play, putting it on speaker for Hector to hear. Vega, darling, Celia's voice drips with a warmth that never existed between us. We're thrilled you're coming tomorrow, just thrilled. Call me, please. I'd love to hear what you've been up to all these years. Maybe we could have breakfast before the rehearsal. So much to catch up on. The transparent attempt at pre-event intelligence gathering almost makes me laugh. 11 years of silence, and now she wants details about my life. You going to call her? Hector asks. I delete the message with a single tap. No, let's keep the element of surprise. Later, as we lie in the unfamiliar hotel bed, Hector's arm curves protectively around my waist. You know what I was thinking about today? What? I ask, watching car headlights trace patterns on the ceiling. How family's supposed to be the people who know you best and love you anyway. But sometimes, the people who know you least are the ones who share your DNA. I turn to him, finding his eyes in the dimness. And sometimes the people who know you best are the ones who help you build spreadsheets of evidence. His laugh is soft against my hair. That's us, spreadsheets and justice. I rest my head on his shoulder, feeling steadier with each breath. Tomorrow, they'll learn that data doesn't lie. The next day, the Palace Hotel's ballroom glitters with old money and new ambition. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light over white linens as Madrid's elite circulate like sharks, trading business cards and calculated compliments. I adjust the sleeve of my cobalt blue dress, armor disguised as elegance. Ready? Hector asks, his hand warm on the small of my back. I nod, scanning the room, as ready as I'll ever be. We enter without fanfare, but heads turn. Conversations halt mid-sentence. The power of the unexpected, I've learned to wield it like a scalpel. 11 years of absence transformed into a precisely timed entrance. My mother spots me first. Celia stands near an ice sculpture, her champagne flute frozen halfway to her lips. Her smile calcifies, perfect teeth, dead eyes. She whispers something to my father, whose head snaps up so sharply I'm surprised he doesn't injure himself. Vega, Marta's voice cuts through the murmur. She glides toward me in white silk, arms outstretched, performing fraternal joy with Broadway precision. You came, I accept her embrace, nodding how her fingers tremble against my shoulder blades. Congratulations, I say, my voice steady. Lovely venue. Daniel, come meet my sister, she calls to her fiancé, who approaches with the cautious gait of someone crossing thin ice. Recognition flickers in his eyes the moment they meet mine. 3 years ago, those same eyes dismissed my research presentation with a single glance of disdain. Now they widen with alarm. Dr. Serrano, I say, extending my hand. We've met. Complutense University Medical Research Symposium 2022. His hand is clammy. Miss Serrano, what a surprise. Vega works in data analysis now, Marta interjects, her laugh brittle. In Barcelona, data integrity specifically, I clarify. Fascinating field. Patterns emerge when you know what to look for. Daniel swallows visibly. Interesting. It's not just recognition, there's fear there. Hector squeezes my elbow, a gentle signal to circulate. We move through the reception like water, pausing at strategic intervals, collecting conversation fragments like evidence. Youngest residency director in the hospital's history. Groundbreaking work on nutritional interventions. Celia must be so proud. 2 brilliant daughters. My father intercepts us near the bar, whiskey in hand like a shield. His face has aged beyond his 62 years, new wrinkles carved around his mouth. Vega, he tries to smile. You look successful. No, I missed you. No, I'm sorry, just an appraisal of my apparent worth. Papa, I reply, you look tired. His flinch is almost imperceptible. Listen about what happened. Carlos, Celia materializes at his side, her coral dress matching her lipstick with military precision. Don't monopolize our guest, Vega. Darling, tell me about Barcelona. Such an affordable city, I hear. I smile. Very practical for someone starting from scratch. Her eyes narrow. And what exactly do you do? Analyze data patterns. Hector answers smoothly, extending his hand. Hector Morales, forensic financial analyst. Celia's smile fades a fraction. Oh, how interesting. Both of you in the world of numbers. We believe in accountability, I say. She steers the conversation to mindless social chatter, but I catch her eyes darting nervously toward Marta, who hovers near the bridal table, watching us with poorly concealed panic. When dinner is announced, we take our assigned seats, far from the bridal table naturally, but with a perfect view of it. I unfold my napkin with deliberate care, watching Daniel whisper urgently to Marta, who shakes her head with growing agitation. The first course arrives, wine flows, toasts begin. Marta's medical school mentor stands, glass in hand. I've had the privilege of watching Dr. Marta Serrano develop her revolutionary approach to community nutrition. Hector's hand rests over mine as my knuckles whiten around my water glass. Her brilliant master's thesis changed how we understand nutritional interventions in underserved communities. I stand my chair scraping the parquet with surgical precision. The room falls silent. I'd love to hear more about that thesis, I say, my voice carrying across the suddenly quiet ballroom, especially since I designed that methodology before it vanished from my hard drive 11 years ago. I lift my tablet from beneath the table, tapping it once to illuminate the screen. I believe in data integrity, so I brought the evidence. Side by side on the screen, my original research draft and Marta's published thesis, identical passages highlighted in damning yellow. Daniel Rojas stands abruptly. All eyes shift between us, witnessing the first crack in a facade built over 11 years. I was afraid of this, he says, and every head in the room turns to him in shock. A week later, the newspaper headline glows on my laptop screen. Prominent Madrid doctor's wedding postponed amid professional allegations. I close my eyes. The image of Marta's crumbling facade remains vivid. Her perfect mask cracked wide open when Daniel stood by my side, confirming he'd been investigating her credentials for months. My phone buzzes for the 9th time today. Another Madrid area code. I let it ring to voicemail. Like the others, they'll keep calling, Hector says from the kitchen of my Barcelona apartment. The aroma of strong coffee fills the space between us. Let them. I tap my tablet's stylus, organizing screenshots of each missed call into neat folders. Every contact is now evidence. A voicemail notification appears. I play it on speaker. Vega, it's your father. His voice sounds older than I remembered from just days ago. What you've done to your sister, to this family, is unconscionable. We raised you better than this. Call me so we can discuss how to fix this mess you've created. Hector looks at me, eyebrows raised. An interesting version of reality. Classic Carlos Serrano, I say, archiving the audio file, still blaming the wrong daughter. My email pings with a notification from an unfamiliar address. The subject reads, Madrid Medical Board, case number 47A1291. Hector stands behind me, his hand resting lightly on my shoulder as I open it. Miss Serrano, I read aloud. This letter confirms receipt of your documentation regarding Dr. Marta Serrano. The board has determined there is sufficient evidence to warrant a formal investigation. You will be contacted to provide testimony within 14 business days. They're taking it seriously, Hector says. That was fast. Teresa's documentation made the difference. The whistleblower nurse's evidence turned my personal grievance into a public safety issue. No medical board can ignore a 7-year-old in a coma. I open another browser tab and type Rojas Medical Solutions whistleblower. Search results flood with articles from medical watchdog blogs. 3 days ago, these sites received anonymous packets with Teresa's documentation of Marta's negligence. The story spreads like wildfire through healthcare circles. Look, I point to a recent headline. Quran Salad Madrid Hospital removed her profile from their physician directory. Hector squeezes my shoulder. How do you feel? I stare at the screen, trying to name the complicated whirlwind inside me. Like watching a sandcastle dissolve at the shoreline, beautiful from a distance, built on nothing substantial. My software alerts me to a new message from the tax agency. I click through security questions to access it. They're auditing the Serrano Family Foundation, I say, scanning the formal notice. Full-scale review of the last 7 years. Hector whistles low. My contact came through. When they find those falsified tax filings with my stolen identity, they already have. I scroll further down the document. Look at this paragraph. The notification confirms that Ms. Vega Elizabeth Serrano bears no liability for the documents previously filed under investigation. They're formally clearing me. I lean back in my chair. 11 years of vigilance crystallized in this moment. Data always tells the truth. The doorbell rings, unexpected and jarring. Hector checks the video intercom while I close my laptop. It's Celia, he says flatly. Alone, I nod. Let her in. My stepmother looks smaller than I remember, her designer handbag clutched like a shield against her chest. Her perfectly dyed hair shows streaks of gray I've never seen before. You've destroyed everything, she says without preamble. Are you satisfied now? I stand perfectly still, feeling oddly calm. I didn't destroy anything, Celia. I just stopped protecting you. Protecting us. Her voice rises sharply. You've been planning this for years, hoarding information, waiting to strike at your own family. Family doesn't steal from family, I reply. Not sapphire rings, not research, not identities. Her eyes widen. The tax authorities are freezing our accounts. Carlos could face charges. Marta's career is ruined. Consequences aren't the same as destruction. I meet her gaze directly. I didn't forge tax documents. I didn't plagiarize research. I didn't misdiagnose patients. Celia steps forward, her finger jabbing toward my chest. You were always difficult, always thinking you were better than everyone else, and now look what you've done. I don't flinch. What I've done is provide evidence. What happens next isn't up to me. You could retract it, she pleads, her anger collapsing into desperation. Tell them you made a mistake. But I didn't make a mistake. I walk to the door, opening it gently. The truth doesn't need my permission to exist. She stares at me, realizing her power over me has evaporated. Without another word, she leaves. 2 weeks later, I sit in a sterile hearing room before the medical board. 5 suited professionals review documents at a long table. Teresa sits 2 chairs away, her hands steady despite what this testimony could cost her. Daniel Rojas occupies a back row seat, his presence both surprising and validating. When Marta enters, she wears vulnerability like an expensive perfume, calculated, precisely applied. Her eyes sweep past me without acknowledgement. The board president calls me first. I approach the table with the same evidence I've held for years. My voice doesn't waver as I outline the pattern of academic theft, starting with my nutritional research program. Teresa follows, detailing the medication error and subsequent cover-up. She describes discovering falsified credentials during her own investigation post-incident. When Daniel steps forward unexpectedly, murmurs ripple through the room. I discovered discrepancies in Dr. Serrano's credentials while conducting due diligence for our marriage, he testifies. Her alleged rotations at Berlin's Charité show no record of her attendance during the specified dates. Marta's head drops forward, her perfect posture finally breaking. The president speaks after a brief deliberation. Based on the evidence presented today, this board orders the immediate suspension of Dr. Marta Serrano's medical license, pending further investigation. I catch my sister's eye across the room, seeing for the first time not the confident doctor or manipulative sister, but someone who built her entire life on quicksand. The truth doesn't need my vengeance, it simply needs space to exist. A year later, I hang a framed newspaper article by my office window, where afternoon light illuminates the headline. Barcelona nutritionist launches groundbreaking community program. My ghostly reflection in the glass shows a woman I'm still getting used to, someone who stands tall, unflinching before shadows. Perfect spot, says Rosa, my research assistant, scissors in hand as she opens another box of nutritional education materials. The Bissau's kids arrive in an hour for the pilot session. I nod, surveying my new domain. It's not the corner office with mahogany furniture I once imagined when planning my career, but something infinitely more valuable, a space filled with truth. The Civic Center donated these rooms after our grant was approved. Freshly painted walls the color of spring wheat, posters with nutritional information designed for neighborhoods where fresh food is scarce hang beside charts tracking our early successes. My phone buzzes with a message from Hector. Board approved additional funding. Full rollout in 3 more neighborhoods by fall. I allow myself a genuine smile. A year since the medical board hearing that shattered my family's carefully constructed facade. A year rebuilding something authentic from the rubble. Dr. Serrano, Teresa, appears in the doorway, no longer in hospital scrubs but in the business attire of her new role as compliance director at Hospital Del Mar. The oversight committee wants to know if you'll join next month's ethics panel. Only if you're moderating, I reply. Our unlikely friendship, the whistleblower nurse and the exiled daughter, has become one of the unexpected gifts born from the ruins. Teresa laughs. It's confirmed. They say your last presentation completely shifted their approach to verification protocols. I return to my desk, my fingers brushing the leather notebook where I still document everything. Old habits. The bottom drawer holds a single cream-colored envelope, the wedding invitation that set everything in motion. I no longer need to open it. My father called last week, his 3rd attempt at reconciliation since the foundation scandal broke. His voice carried the unfamiliar weight of humility. I've been looking through old photo albums, he said. Found that picture from your 8th grade science fair. You built that nutrition tracker for diabetics, didn't you? I remember, I said, neither cold nor warm. You were always brilliant, Vega. I should have, his voice broke. I should have believed you. Too little, too late, certainly, but something in me had finally stopped craving his approval. Celia hasn't spoken to me since she showed up at my door, mascara streaking her face as she demanded to know how I could destroy her family. My answer remains the same. I didn't destroy them, I just stopped protecting them. Marta vanished from Madrid after her license was suspended. Rumors place her in Andalusia, working in a shop. No apology has come. I no longer expect one. The intercom buzzes. Your 2 o'clock is here, says Marissa, our office manager. Community leaders from the eastern districts. I smooth my cobalt blue blazer, the color I now wear without hesitation. My chosen armor. I'm coming, I reply, gathering my presentation materials. As I pass Teresa, she hands me an envelope. This came for you. The Medical Ethics Conference at the Palace Hotel, the same hotel where my sister's wedding was meant to be. But this invitation bears my name as a keynote speaker. The circle closes, I murmur. What's that? Teresa asks. I tuck the invitation into my notebook. Nothing, just thinking about my opening line for the conference. Which is, I look at her directly, the way I've trained myself to when speaking truth. Data doesn't lie, and neither will I. The community leaders stand as I enter the conference room. These are my people now, those who recognize authentic work, who value evidence over appearances. I set my materials on the table, my hands steady, fingers no longer trembling. My story is no longer edited by others, and that makes all the difference.